Hello guys, welcome back to Gemini Gamers. This is part number 3 of our KSP guide, learning guide for dummies. So in this part, as I said last part, and the second part, that I was going to teach you how to dock, or at least guide you in a process for you to actually be able to dock. Okay, so docking is one of the more difficult things to do in the game. It's probably the hardest thing you'll ever do. Okay, you will never be able to do it in the first try. It's like as a guarantee that you won't be able to do it during the first try. You have to do this multiple times, and you're gonna fail multiple times. So you're gonna hate yourself for it. It took me a very long time to do it, and I'm just gonna admit it that it took me a long time to do it. And if you say that you can do it in the first time, you can't do it in the first time. Trust me, you won't be able to. You're gonna run out of RCS fuel, you're gonna run out of gas, or something's gonna happen, and you're gonna have to come home or get stranded and have to do a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna try to teach you as much as possible to make sure you have a less of a bad experience than I did, and hopefully helps you to do at least a little bit better of a job when you are docking and stuff like that. So yeah, so you're gonna want to quit when you're doing this. And sometimes it is better to just quit for a little while, go do something else, go to the moon or something. Maybe go watch part number 4 of this series to make sure that you know how to go to the moon, which is going to be that thing. We're going to do a moon transfer and a good old landing on it. So I'll teach you how to do all that stuff in the next episode. So make sure if you can do it, make sure you take a break, quit for a little while, and come back later to it, okay? And also, just make sure you know when to return home, like when to just send your Kerbals back home. Make sure you know how to do that, because sometimes you're trying to do something and you end up failing so much that you end up stranding another Kerbal up there, and you have to launch another ship to go rescue him. Okay, so yeah, so 2 big things here in this part of the episode that you need to know how to do. You need to learn how to rendezvous, which means just basically get close in space. Come near each other, need 2 ships, bring them close together in space to make sure you can do that. And then once you do that, you can basically do the docking part, which is the harder part. And yeah, that's basically it for that stuff. Basic information, I'd call that, I guess. So just remember, most important thing, it's okay to quit. Come back to it later if you want. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be tough. It's one of the harder things again in the game. It's probably harder than even landing on another planet. So trust me. Just pay close attention to the tips I'm gonna give you here, and you will have a good experience. Okay, you're probably gonna struggle with it. Like there's a guarantee you're gonna struggle with it, but hopefully the video helps you at least get a little bit of a better understanding of how this is gonna go. So anyway, let's go ahead and move on to things that you need to have on your rocket to be able to do this. First things first, make sure your orbital ship, the thing you're gonna actually use to dock with the other ship in space, is a very light and maneuverable craft. Like here, you can eventually make bigger ships that aren't as maneuverable or heavy, that require a lot more effort to dock with once you get used to it. But make sure you practice it with this, okay? Make sure you practice it, okay? Make sure you use a small craft that can move around. Make sure you have a lot of RCS, because you will need it. Trust me, you will need all this RCS. Make sure you have RCS thrusters, which is a must if you're gonna dock. Some experts can do it with just the engine, but you're no expert if you're watching this. So trust me, you want some RCS thrusters. It's possible to dock with the engine, but don't try it now. Try it in a couple months, I guess, after you dock. So anyway, make sure also you have a lot of delta V. We have 1,495 meters per second here with this tank. The only reason it's so low is because of the RCS tanks, but we need the RCS. So make sure you got that, and keep it simple. Okay, don't add a bunch of stuff that's gonna make it all weird. Okay, trust me, you don't want all that stuff. Make sure you have solar panels and batteries. It's gonna give you a lot more time to do what you need to do up there. It's not really important other than maneuverability. You don't want to use up all your RCS, so make sure you conserve it. When you're just moving around, changing orientation, make sure you conserve your RCS by pressing R and turning it off completely. So anyway, the last thing you're going to need is a docking port. Okay? So there's a couple there's about 3 docking. Yeah, there's actually 4, 5 docking ports and a clamp that you will not be using today, but you can use. There's 4 types of docking ports. So here's a second one. Here's a third one, right there. And well, actually, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 docking ports. So here's 6. Wait, I'm not even counting the 4th one. There you go. It opens up. This one's used for space planes. You won't be using it right now, but it's very useful because it has its own monopropellant. So very cool stuff there. And the last one, just a little better looking docking port. But the 3 main ones that you will be using is this one, the big one, the 1.25 one, and the very small one. But most of the time you'll be using this one. When you're doing really large crafts, eventually you will, trust me, you'll be using this one. But for now, that's pretty much all of them in the game. Maybe they'll add more in the next couple updates in the next couple months. But for now, we're going to use the really small one because we are using a very small ship in the first place. So we're just going to try to conserve in mass and help us get more Delta V out of our CS and our fuel. So yeah, again, I'm going to use the same rocket that we used for the orbital mission. Same type of mission actually. So if you need a way to get into orbit, go watch the episode before this one, the last part 2. I go over everything you need to know. And I think that's pretty much it for all this stuff. Make sure you have parachutes too. You don't want to kill your Kerbals. Make sure they have an ability to get home. I mean, unless you're that kind of person that you want them to die. But make sure you do that. And yeah, make sure your rocket has a good ability to get up there. Make sure you have a lot of Delta V once you're up there. And once you're all done with that, we can go ahead and launch this rocket. Alright guys, so once you're at the launch pad, make sure, first off, that you have another ship to dock with in the first place, okay? If you're going to launch something, make sure you launch something before to dock with, okay? So I launched a very similar rocket to this one. I think actually pretty much the same rocket. And Jebediah's up there, parked up there currently, up here in orbit, going around 128 kilometers up. So he's over there, and we're going to use this ship to go up there and dock with him, okay? So a couple things you need to know before you do this. Make sure that it's always a good thing to wait. Don't just launch immediately once you get in this point when you're at the launch pad here. Don't launch. Wait for the ship to get a little bit closer to you, okay? The orbit, make sure the other ship you're trying to dock with gets at least to this point here, next to this little continent here, peninsula, I guess. Because you could see, yeah, I guess it's, yeah, whatever. So make sure it's like at the other continent next to the continent you're on. So here, right before it touches the little tip here, make sure it's before you launch, make sure it's right there, okay? So make sure you always wait or launch whenever you need to, but just make sure you do that. It's gonna help you out a little bit. And yeah, always remain calm and don't do it as fast as possible, okay? It's gonna take you a while, trust me. So just remain calm and yeah, just have some fun. And again, I just made a mistake there, so I'm gonna see if I can land this rocket. Nope, I couldn't do it. Okay. Okay, so that was a bad one. Anyway. Alright, so the mistake I made there was I should have waited. So I was getting a little out of hand there, but thankfully we can just do that and get all that back. So anyway, again, time warp is your friend. Make sure it's the other ship is the right position. So right there looks like a good thing. So we're gonna go ahead and launch now. Alright, so make sure you always get it when you're gonna dock. Make sure you're in a very high orbit. Your minimum requirement for the first couple times you're trying to dock is at least 100 kilometers. So make sure your orbits are higher than that. And the reason that's a thing is because you want to be able to maneuver around as much as possible to get the right trajectory and stuff up in space. If you end up getting in orbit like at 70k or something like that, something really dumb like that, you're gonna go into the atmosphere a couple times, trust me, trying to do this docking, and that's gonna cost fuel, and that's gonna cost a lot of resources that you don't have once you're in space. So trust me, you want to get this orbit as high as possible. Not too high, because then it's gonna take too long, you're gonna get frustrated again. So yeah, it's just gonna be a little bit of a toughie. Okay, trust me, it's not a simple thing. But as long as you listen to everything I gotta say here, you'll be fine. You're gonna be able to do whatever you need to do. So yeah, remember, just normal launch as you go up, normal launch, stage and stuff like that. Very similar rocket to the one that we used before, just more junk on the top. So it's gonna be a little bit of a slower launch. But remember, all you gotta do is get into space first. Your goal first in docking is just to get into space in orbit, okay? That's your first thing that you gotta do. And then you gotta tinker a little bit, alright? It's not a very straightforward thing, especially when you're not doing any math with it. Again, I wouldn't even do the math for this. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. You don't. I don't know why you would, but there is a way to calculate stuff, but you don't need it. Just go ahead and launch, and you'll be fine. Trust me. So a couple things you need to do first is get really good at rendezvousing. Okay, you need to know how orbital mechanics work a little bit better. A little bit, not that big of a deal, but just make sure you know how different speed variables like affect how high you're going up. Again, I'm not trying to get into the math, but I'm using some math terms there. Make sure that you know that, and once you do know that, remember that the lower you go, the faster you have to go, okay, in order to stay in orbit. Meaning that if you're under the orbital, the thing you're trying to dock with, that means that by law you have to be going faster than it. And if you're going above it, by law you have to be going slower than it. Okay, so remember those two things, and you'll be good to go. So now that we are about 79, 80, make sure to right click on your target and then click the little tab that says set as target. So again, just right click and like that. Right click on it and then set as target, and the orbit will turn yellow, which means that you successfully set it as target, and you'll get 2 more things down here. If you're using a pilot, which I recommend, we're using Valentina here as our pilot, you'll get 2 more little nodes here that you can use. Okay, so we had a pretty decent launch there. Actually, too good to be true. So, once you get this, just burn in random directions to see if you can get it as close as possible. So we're around 10.5 kilometers away. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and do that. I can do it a little bit better if I were to try. But I want to make it a little bit more difficult for me so I can teach you some things that you need to do. So, again, once you're in this position, you get these 2 more. Those will become very useful later on. But make sure to, first things first is get into orbit. So, let's go ahead and go all the way up to our periapsis here. And we'll probably get a good view of our thing. Yeah, there we go. There's Jebediah's ship over there. We need to go dock with it. So another thing you need to be able to do is you might not know this, but if you press here, your little relative velocity changes, which is very cool. So again, we need to get into orbit. So I'm gonna go start and do the burn now. It's not the most efficient burn, but we need to do it now. And you get a couple things here, but I'm going to go ahead and talk about that a little bit once you get in orbit so we don't end up messing up. So there's our target. As you can see, we're going really slow right now since we're not in orbit. It's going by really fast, okay? Once you get in orbit, hopefully that little speed changes, but this is a good thing because I'll be able to teach you a little bit about docking and stuff. So, rendezvousing at least first. So yeah, I'm trying to get in orbit first, and then we'll see what happens here. Almost there. Remember, 2,200 meters per second is your goal most of the time when you're going into orbit for the first time. But I'm just repeating myself at that point. So again, stage, trying to keep the environment clean here. Dropping stuff back into the atmosphere is always a good thing. I've never had the situation where I accidentally hit anything, but you never know. You never know with this game. Alright, so we're almost in orbit here. And we ended up not having the best trajectory, but I think that once you click here, you can get the target velocity and you can do whatever you need to do. So always point in retrograde to slow yourself down relatively to your target. This is not the most efficient way to do it, but it's going to let you at least get into a close orbit. If you're near your target, make sure to just reduce your relative velocity to it. Okay, so now we're in the perfectly right Really, really good orbit here. Okay, so as you can see, even though we launch from the same spot, the orbits don't really have the right inclination, okay? So that's the first thing you deal with. Okay, inclination, basically, one of them, it's in a different angle, as you can see. Our orbit goes a little more in this direction than the other orbit. The other orbit goes a little more like this. I'm just exaggerating it, but that's pretty much what it is, right? So, as you can see, different positions here. Even though we have basically almost the same altitude, we have different inclinations, okay? So the first thing you want to do is identify where your ascending node is, and that is this little tab here, okay? So it's 1.1, which means that we're very off. I didn't expect it to be that big, but not that big of a deal. So, which means you're gonna have to burn south to get it to 0 at least. So let's see here. As you can see, we burned a little too much there. And again, to activate a maneuver node, just click your orbit, add maneuver, and you do this. So we burn south a little bit, and we get the orbit that we want. And once this is 0, if we can get it close to 0, again, make sure you have time. Don't panic. It's all good when you're doing this, okay? Oh dear. Again, you don't have to get it perfectly, but there's 0. You don't have to get it perfectly. In this situation, since we're such in a very similar orbit here, you don't need to get it too perfectly, but yeah. Again, make sure to switch around stuff here. Make sure you're not in the wrong category, your relative velocity category. When you're in this situation, trust me, you just don't want to do that. You're gonna end up killing yourself, trust me. So anyway, let's go ahead and warp to this maneuver node over here. And once we get there, we'll do the burn, and our orbits will basically be right on top of each other. Make sure you always do this before when you're doing a docking, especially in this situation. It's going to make everything a lot easier, trust me. So much easier. Anyway, we're about 30 seconds out. Remember, don't time warp too much because you're going to end up flying off and you're going to be sad. So, yeah. Okay. Full power. Boop. Okay. It's not going to be perfect, trust me, but you want it. But we got it there. You don't have to get it perfectly. It's just make sure you try to get it as perfect as possible. As you can see right now, we're pretty much even. I mean, we're still pretty far, but we're pretty much even, alright? So, these little things are basically your closest approaches, which means the closest you'll be are where these things are telling you will be, okay? So just be careful that you don't get them confused. Orange goes with orange and purple goes with purple and stuff like that. Sometimes they get a little bit weird and, so just make sure to read the information it tells you. So separation here, their closest approach will be 14.6 kilometers. That's not very good, but I could work with that, okay? I guess I could work with that, but I'm gonna see it here. And the other one, intersect, the other intersect is worse. 47.6 kilometers, you don't want that. That's just a bad approach. Trust me. Bad approach. Okay, so when you're in this situation, just tinker around, man. Like, honestly, that's the best thing you can do, okay? Just add a maneuver node when you're starting off, okay? That's the best thing you can do. Not later on, once you get really good at it. When you're starting off, just tinker with it a little bit. Do a little burn prograde, and then a little burn retrograde. And hopefully, once you get all that stuff done, you'll get a better intersect like that. We did it, okay? We got 4.8 kilometers, okay? Again, if you're behind it like this, you have to go into a lower orbit to catch up because you're going faster, right? It means you're going faster that way. You will eventually catch up. Just be careful not to go too low that you go into the atmosphere. If you're in front of it, just go into a higher orbit. You'll get a better encounter once you do that. You'll slow down a little more since you're going higher. It doesn't make sense, alright? Trust me. When you burn your engine forward, you're thinking, okay, I'm going faster, right? So therefore, I must be going faster relatively to the ship, right? No, you're not, because you're going higher, and the faster speed that you gain will slow down, and you'll also be traveling a farther distance because you are going higher. Okay, so this is our orbit here, right? If we were to burn so far out that we were going this far out, right? That's a really high distance. Okay, so again, the most important thing, get your inclination right. Once you get that done, make sure to do the burn, and eventually, if you got the right inclination, no matter what you do, and you're in a relatively encountering an orbit that encounters itself, you will keep getting an encounter. Trust me. Look, look, look. Watch this. Watch the little purple thing. Encounter right there, right? Look at that. An encounter of 16 kilometers and no, actually 5 kilometers, 2 kilometers. That's perfect right there, okay? And you can keep going. You get another one, and another one, and another one. See? Perfect, huh? Well, unless you do that, and then you're basically screwed. But yeah, so just, you know, get the inclination first, and then just do a little maneuvers, and you'll get it. Trust me, believe me. Get good at it first, and then the harder part, which is the docking, but you don't worry about that too much. So anyway, I don't need a maneuver node because I know that going a little bit slower will give me the encounter that I need. So anyway, go to the periapsis here, click on the retrograde node here. Once you burn it, just keep your mouse over your little intersection here, and look at that, it's getting closer, isn't it? It's getting closer. Let's burn a little bit more. A little bit more, there we go. They unified because that's the closest encounter we'll get at this point. And I'm not going to get it too perfectly because I want to teach you some things. There we go, that's as close as we're going to get it. So anyway, go into the normal view. Make sure you can always have a direct line of sight of it here. Always do that so you can see where it is and where it's at. And the first thing I want you to do is click here to a point where you're at your target relative velocity, okay? You're going to be, this is orbit, that's surface, and this is target, so make sure you're at target. Not the store target, just relatively to your target. So let's go and warp to the point where we're closest to it, over there. And once we do that, I'll be able to teach you the final couple things that you need to know, okay? So let's go ahead and keep warping. A little bit more, a little bit more. Just a tiny bit more. No big deal. There's the sun, which means you're close. You can also do it here if you're confident in yourself, but make sure you always keep a line of sight so you don't lose it. And there we go. You can see we changed directions because actually we're going in a lower orbit, which means we're going faster, okay? So before, that one was going a little bit faster than us, but now it's starting to lag behind us. So if we were to stay in this orbit, eventually that little ship would fall behind very far, eventually over a couple days. But anyway, we're here. So in a relative velocity, it's actually pretty low. So make sure that you point retrograde when you're under your target category, and just make this relative velocity 0. Okay, you can use your engine, but I'm going to go ahead and teach you a couple things here, okay? So a lot of you may be saying, okay, so I'm a dock, right? So I'm going to press this little button down here that says docking mode. Okay, don't do this, please. Believe me, you don't want to do this. Don't do it, okay? Just don't, okay? It's lame. It really is. Don't use it. It's horrible. It looks cool and all, but it's just dumb, okay? Don't do it. Just don't. Trust me, don't use it. I hate it. Everyone hates it. Okay, no one likes it. I don't know why it's even a thing. The reason no one likes it is because it gets so weird. It basically, all it does, it flips around controls, and I'll just explain why, okay? So turn it off, okay? Don't use it. Just go back to staging mode. Just remember, don't press space in that mode, okay? Trust me. So activate your RCS. That's the first thing you want to do, okay? And remember this. Okay, so you know what WSD does, right? It basically makes you move around, change orientation and stuff like that, okay? Yeah. So look over a little bit towards the right, and you will see the buttons J, K, L, and I. Press them first. As you can see, they do something, okay? You don't know exactly what they do, but as you can see, they do something, okay? So make sure you're at the right orientation. Make sure that this is always pointing, the little door, which is what I'm using right now, it's always pointing up. Make sure it is, okay? So when you press L, your ship wants to go towards this way, okay? This way, right? Thrusters burn that way. Make sure they go this way, okay? And when you want to go this way, just press J. See? Thrusters burn that way, and they naturally want to go this way, right? If you want to go this way, press K. Remember, K and I is inverted just like W and S is. So K burns down, thrusters burn down, pushes your ship up. Simple like that, okay? And I burns the thrusters up, pushes your ship down, okay? And what docking mode does is basically changes those buttons to WASD, right? And it doesn't change the ones that WASD to over to the other ones, which means that you end up with two big negatives because you lose your orientation control, and you end up with two controls that really aren't going to help you much. So just use staging mode. That's basically what it does. So anyway, do this, right? And the other two buttons that I need you to understand is H and N. H is a forward thrust, right? H lets you burn forward, as you can see. We're burning forward, and our vertical velocity, our relative velocity is going down, as you can see. It's almost at 0. And if you want to go backwards, you want to do a retrograde burn, press N. And you'll end up pushing yourself back to where you were. So, we want to get our relative velocity to 0 here. And once it gets to 0, almost there. Remember, you can mess around with it to push your retrograde in certain directions. Anyway, once you get close enough, you don't need to be exactly at 0. Turn off your RCS. Remember, conserving RCS is very important. And point towards your target, like this. Press your R again to activate RCS, and press H to increase your relative velocity. And make sure you use the other controls like J and L, I, and K to push your velocity, your prograde on top of your target. So like this, like I'm doing right now. I can basically make it dance around and stuff like that, as you can see, by using our RCS. So remember, you want your prograde to basically be pointing towards your ship, the ship you're trying to dock with, okay? So once you're like this, you can also look at this thing, and this thing will basically tell you when you'll get the closest encounter. So 2 kilometers, not the best either yet. So keep looking at this. Make sure your prograde node is still on top of your targeting node. So make sure that's still the same, and you'll be fine. 1.6 kilometers. Very cool, very cool. You're going to get really close here, as close as possible. Make sure also, when you're doing this, don't end up going too fast. Just take it slow. I'm going to try to go a little bit faster because, make the video a little bit shorter. But remember, just take it a little bit slow. Calm. Calm is a virtue, so patience, I guess. Patience is good. Calmness is also. So, yeah, 0.4. I'm going to see if I can get it a little bit better here. No, I can't. Okay, so that's perfect. Remember, if you need to use your engine, use your engine. So remember, in preparation for this little encounter, oh god, I deactivated it. Okay, I'm gonna tell my pilot, Valentina, to point retrograde. Once that's done, as you can see, we're getting close now. You can use time warp a little bit. I'm going to use our engine to conserve RCS, just in case you end up making mistakes. Remember, you have an engine, make sure you have enough delta V to do this. If you don't have enough delta V, make sure you conserve. So here we can actually see the other ship now. It's very pretty, very pretty. It's going across the sun, and you can see it right there. There you go. So make sure you get as close as possible. And right when you get so close like this, make sure to activate your engine when you are feeling that you need to. So I'm going to do it right about now, full power. There we go. And use the RCS to make the corrections that you need. Again, RCS off. To turn your orientation, make sure you find the targeting node like this, right? And once you're in this position, remember, stay calm, don't panic, everything's fine. Make sure your velocity is at 0. Put the camera in the right position that you want it, okay? You're not going to be at the right position ever. And put your hands on both sets of controls, so JKIL and WSD, right? Okay, so turn on your RCS and press H. Make sure you get close. Put your prograde node right on top of the targeting node. Okay? Don't go too fast. Take it calm. Go around 5 meters per second. Okay? And know when to slow down, okay? Don't hit the other ship because it's gonna get all weird. Okay, so we're getting close, getting close. Keep moving a little. Keep doing little corrections here and there. Don't end up doing anything too dumb. Just keep going slow and calm, and you're gonna get close, okay? It's gonna come, okay? Don't worry. Stay. Let it go. Just let it go. Keep doing little corrections though. Right? Once you get around 50 meters away, you can start slowing down a little bit. If you're using this type of ship, if you're using a heavier ship, this is gonna be a couple changes that you need to do. So yeah, we can see the ship right now. Okay. We actually ended up approaching it from a very good size, 50 meters. Start slowing down here. Okay. There we go. Alright, so relative velocity, make sure you can make it 0. Alright, and now you're in this position, turn off your RCS so you don't end up doing anything dumb. Make sure you observe the ship you're trying to dock with, okay? Sometimes it's not going to be in this type of orientation where you're actually pointing at it, but if it wasn't, switch to your other ship using the bracket keys. So press 1 and you'll switch to the other one. And also, double click the other ship once you're near here. Double click it. If you're still not near, you gotta go into the map view and do it the same way. But anyway, once you do this, activate, if you have a pilot on board, activate the SAS and click target. Orientations will match. They'll magically push together, right? And once you've done this, if your relative velocity is 0, all you gotta do, and trust me, all you gotta do now is basically do the same over here. Target. And all you gotta do is activate your RCS and give it a tiny little push at the H. Just push H a little bit. Just a little bit. Not that much. Do a little correction burn there and there. No big deal. And just watch your ships slowly start drifting together into holy matrimony. Alright, slowly they'll give each other a little kiss and everything will just fall into place. Okay? Here it comes. See it? There you go. There you go. There you go. Look at that. Man, look how, oh man. This is gonna be a little... Actually not the right position, surprisingly. No, yeah. I was losing a little bit of confidence, but I think we're fine. Yeah, we're fine. And all you gotta do is make sure, so if your ships are light, all you gotta do is make them touch. And boom. See? Was that hard? No, it wasn't, right? Of course, you're not gonna get it the first time. You're gonna probably get a little impatient, but remember, patience is something you gotta do, okay? And again, you can keep doing it. Just undock. Like that, right? Go to the other ship. You can go crazy. You can basically maneuver as much as you need to. So I want to go this way. I want to go over the ship. This way. Right? You can maneuver around. Do what you need to do. Like this. Like this and stuff like that. Go backwards. Stuff like that. Crazy stuff, you know what I mean? Just crazy stuff. Go under the ship, go over the ship. You can basically do everything you could ever imagine. In space, as long as you have enough RCS, remember. And if you end up, like, trying to dock again or whatever, remember, just target it. Look for your relative velocity. Click, make sure it's on relative velocity. And go to your retrograde. And basically get rid of all your relative velocity. Make sure it's at 0. And once you're at 0, all you gotta do is go to the other ship, right? Click on target the other ship. Tell your pilot to target the other ship. And then once it's done there, make sure it's stable. Switch back to the other ship. Deactivate your RCS just so you don't get any extra force. Click on target. Activate the RCS. Press H a couple times, not that much. Make a little correction here and there. Not too many. Go at least at a meter per second, not to make everything a little bit fast. And in 26 seconds about, we'll be docked. Alright, this is the simplest way, okay? This is the simplest way I can teach you how to do it. Remember to practice. Keep practicing, okay? This is not the easiest way to do it. You won't be able to do this in an easy way when you're doing it with big ships, especially ships that kind of struggle to maneuver around. But as you can see, look at it. Look how perfectly it is. Look, just look. Boom. 2 docks in a row. What more could you ever want, man? Honestly. Alright, so this is the easiest way. The easiest way to dock. Like, there's no other easy way. Alright, especially when you're starting off. Trust me. Just practice it with these small little ships, okay? Don't worry about anything else. Just use these tiny small ships that are heavily maneuverable and really good. Remember, get your inclination straight up correct from the start, okay? Use the maneuver notes to your advantage, and then get an encounter by using retrograde and prograde. Make sure you don't go into the atmosphere. And, yeah, I mean, there's nothing really else you can do. I mean, everything here is simple. Alright, and if you want to do it more of a more forcible way, where you end up using one of, like, this ship here to move around without moving this one, you can do it. It's going to be a little more difficult, but you can do it. No problem. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything else I can tell you anything here. I mean, everything else here is, simple, I guess. I mean, it's going to be tough, trust me. It's going to be tough. And I'm going to go ahead and teach you some of the things that you can do once you dock, okay? The benefits of it, okay? So, you can press Alt and right click together, and you can transfer fuel from ship to ship. You can transfer RCS. You can transfer everything. So, a couple benefits from this is, let's say you're going to one of those planets that has an atmosphere where you use a lander to land and then take off. And then you're like, damn, I really wish I had another ship so I can drop all this lander, the mass of the lander off, and just go back on the mothership, right? You can do that, right? It's possible. You just gotta get really good at it. And all you gotta do is just land. Let's say this was a lander, right? This little ship over here was a lander. It landed, it came back up, it docked, and we just transferred all the crew to this one. And this ship here was the only, and the fuel, extra fuel that it ended up with, to this ship. And once that was done, you can drop off this whole other mass here. Just leave it there and just go home with this ship, right? So, very cool stuff with the docking. It's one of the hardest things you will do in the game, but I think I did a good job at teaching you how to do it in a very simple way, okay? So remember, waiting is key. Don't do it too fast, okay? Just take it calmly and you'll be fine, okay? Remember, you're not going to do it in the first try. I mean, unless you somehow pilot or something. A pilot might be able to do it in the first try. But I don't know. Actually, maybe not. Because pilots aren't really... Well, maybe. I don't know. But we'll see. Good luck. Tell me how many times it takes you to do it in the comments below. And also, tell me if you want me to teach you how to do anything else. Anything else relating to the game. Maybe go to another planet or something. A specific planet or land somewhere or whatever. And I'll try my best to teach you. Remember, you have a little button here. And EVA. You can EVA and go visit the other Kerbal. Let's see if we can get a nice little view here of the other Kerbal. Alright. Let's see if grab. Switch back with the bracket keys. And let's give it a little internal view and see if we can see. Yeah, we can. Let me just see if I can go up a little bit here. Yep. And internal view. Oh, we can see his belly. We can see the belly. That's funny. Alright, down. And go back to the other one, see. Oh man, it's not perfect. It's not perfect at all. There we go. I think that's as much as close as we're gonna get it. View. Oh well, I tried my best. I want to get like his face on there. Anyway, guys, remember, suggestions, comment, like and share the video. And remember to subscribe if you like it. Tell me you want more of these, and tell me what you learned. Maybe you already are good at docking, and you're like, oh, I really like that strategy or something like that. Tell me all that stuff. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next episode. Next episode we'll be doing moon stuff, which is basically just what it is, the moon here, the moon, not the moon, the moon. So we're gonna go in there next episode, and hopefully I'll be able to teach you how to do all that stuff there. And yeah, again, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next episode. In the next part.